Hello, Johanna. It's so wonderful to be chatting with you all the way in Toronto.
Toronto, the NBA champions. You may have
I'm
heard,
so
not.
I'm unfortunately in this little tip of Africa, or consumed with the Fire series. I haven't, but I did notice that you said to me earlier that you reserved the name Hannah for only your nearest and dearest. So I will let everybody know this is my dear friend Hannah, which shows that I am in fact close to her heart. And she is our episode number 4 in the Fire series. And specifically, we're going to be chatting about her journey over the last year since she joined Ann Wilson's Financial Freedom University. But before we talk about that, Hannah, I would like to ask you one question. Would you consider yourself a risk taker?
Oh, that's a great question. No, I think I don't consider myself a risk taker because I grew up in a single parent family, and my mom was very stressed about money when I was growing up a lot. And, her retirement was always thought of as far down the line. And so I've seen my mom over the years be quite the risk taker when it comes to money because she has this deep need. She's to make money fast. She's looking for, the get rich quick schemes. And so
Yeah.
so I've rebelled against that and been much more conservative. So, I tried at an early age to do the right thing and sock a little bit of money away every month. I think I started maybe when I was 18 or something like that. So yeah, I started very conservatively. Yeah, and it didn't get me very far.
Yeah, well, that brings me kind of to my next question is I remember, so some of you are watching may have watched that this time last year I ran something called the Freedom series where I was talking about all the different ways you can build freedom into your life. And Hannah being connected with me and my Facebook friend, Hannah and I actually were roommates way back, maybe like 10 years ago. So just being connected, and I've been a couple of times over to visit her in Toronto, and she's been back to South Africa a few times. And so she saw me talking about this Freedom series and talking about somebody called Ann Wilson who opens Financial Freedom University once a year. And basically, it's a personal finance intelligence course. And Hannah signed up, and I remember being quite surprised that you signed up because I know you to be like a really deliberate, analytical, don't shoot from the hip kind of person. And I'm maybe a little bit the opposite. I'm like into every program. I've bought like every online program there is to buy. I've just like, I'm quite impulsive and spontaneous like that. So when you signed up, I was like, damn, that series was obviously super powerful. If you haven't watched it yet, it's still open. It's a free video series that runs just once a year that Anne releases. It's called the World of Wealth Workshop this year. And so you joined the World of Wealth Workshop because I was talking about it. And then you joined Financial Freedom University, and then you've done like a whole bunch of stuff since you joined. It's been remarkable to watch you taking big steps towards financial freedom that are informed, and it's been quite dramatic. What's happened for you since you joined?
Well, I want to share the story of how I made the decision to join FFU because it was exactly this time last year. And as you say, I'm very deliberate. I need to know all my options before I make a decision. And I kept feeling like I was, watching your videos and everything you were saying was speaking to me loud and clear. And so I felt this huge draw because, like I was just saying, for 10 years, basically, I've been doing the right things, doing what we're told to do, sock away some money, but don't like be very involved in the money. Just give all your financial autonomy to somebody else, a financial advisor, and, they'll do right by you. But really, what are the results of that? Anyway, so I was humming and hawing, and I remember a registration opened up, and I was thinking, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And it was literally the registration closed on, well, I think I signed up maybe 1 hour before registration closed.
Sorry about that interruption. Hannah, well, the last I heard was you were just telling me about the decision you like what you were humming and hawing about when you're like, oh shit, am I actually going to get really serious about understanding this crazy thing called money?
Yes, and it all came into perspective for me because my housemate was having a baby, and I was in the delivery room at the hospital, like hours away from this baby appearing into the world. And I think it was maybe hours before registration was closing. And I just felt totally overcome that I needed to do this. I needed to take my financial future into my own hands, not keep delegating it to other people who aren't me, who will never guide my money the way it needs to be. And just, yeah, to take control. And
Yeah.
and certainly for me, it was just really eye opening, because here I was with my housemate who was a single parent, electing to have a child, and I was just thinking about my mom and how we struggled so much growing up, and I just thought, no, this is my opportunity to forge a different path for myself and for my future and for my future children and future family and all of it. So
Yeah,
really powerful.
I remember that. I actually totally forgot about that now that your housemate was having a baby. I remember you messaging me. You're like, I'm gonna do it. And I mean, so here's the thing about, like I said, I've signed up for a lot of online programs, and it's as valuable to you as far as you actually implement the stuff you learn, right? And you are somebody out of almost everybody I know who has seriously grabbed the bull by the horns. I remember you showed up here in February. You came all the way out here to join the live event, which is like part of the program that you bought, and you had your folders and your files and your highlighter, and you were like, let's go through shit together. So, and you've really seen a result as a result of that. So there's a couple of huge things that have happened for you since you've been implementing some of the very simple but very important stuff that we've learned together at FFU.
Yeah, so I think the first big thing is that you need to know your target. You need to know how much you're spending now, and what you'll need into the future, and then kind of work backwards from there. So that felt really good to me to figure out, in short order, kind of what is my financial freedom number, and then everything is informed by that. What are the steps that need to be taken to achieve that net worth target? And so for me, some of the biggest changes that happened in this last year was that I was able to, I have a property, and I was able to leverage that property to buy another property, which is a phenomenal strategy, because you're basically just borrowing lots of money from a bank and you're earning returns on a very small actual investment. So I was able to purchase another property without putting any of my own money into the property. And then I realized that, so I moved into another house that was much, much less expensive than the one that I was currently living in, because I decided to move a little further outside of the city limits to kind of an up and coming neighborhood, which is a big deal for a lot of people. And it was certainly an adjustment, but it was all because I was thinking about the long term. And then the other big thing that I chose to do was that I sold this property that I'd had for a very long time, which meant that I could have access to all that dormant equity that was sitting in that house. Now, anyone will tell you, why are you selling a house in Toronto? I mean, that's crazy. You hold, you buy and hold, you buy and hold. But through FFU, I came to understand that was an underperforming asset. It was like a real shift to start to think of property and businesses as assets in your life, and how do you make those assets really feed you and make them have the greatest return on investment. And so it was a big deal for me to sell that property, and in the process I was able to buy a different property that was renting at the same amount of money but cost half the amount of money as that other property. So
Wow.
So now it's just, my outlook has just completely shifted. And I think about, how can I give my money leadership? How can I ensure that at the end of the year that the money that I do have is earning a good return? That actually makes sense to me now, because now I want to be actively involved in that. And I can tell you that for 10 years, maybe even longer, I cycled through a couple of financial advisors, always paying through the note, not even understanding what I was paying for, but also recognizing that at the end of the day, that amount of money that I was putting into my investments, it rarely ever increased more than what I had initially put in. Even just months before I joined FFU, I decided to take the money that I had invested and move over to a different financial advisor because I wasn't very pleased with the other person I'd been working with for a while. And just in that transaction, I spent $3,000, just boom, just like that, for so little value. It really was confronting, because when I signed up for FFU and I realized that, because I finally understood, well, what are all these fees I'm paying and everything? I was really digging deep. It was, I mean, that really sucked to think about the last 10 years and what a huge opportunity cost there's been to me just kind of putting my head in the sand about my own money. Because the greatest thing on our side is time.
Sure. Look, and I hear what you're saying, because that's like you're telling my story too. And like you said, it's just what we're told is normal. Like maybe you've got a couple of investments, maybe you don't even have any investments, maybe you also got your head in the sand about like the fact that, you know, unless you want to work until the day you don't breathe anymore, you should be building assets, which was a realization for me only just a few short years ago. I just thought you earned money until you didn't, and then if you were lucky you could retire, otherwise your parents and your children looked after you. Like, that's the world I come from. Or every grandparent in my family and in my aunts and uncles kind of came to live with you, and that was kind of the story. So I didn't get any amazing modeling from that point of view. But when I started to learn that even the model where you just use a financial advisor is not necessarily your path to freedom, and that Anne uses the term TV dinner investments, so kind of like this prepackaged things that are poor, low quality, that most people are invested in those thinking they're doing the right thing, and then they're paying. I mean, if you think about it, it's a whole industry, and all these people have got salaries and houses and lives. That's money that could be, you're funding somebody else's life that you could actually be investing. So that's an enormous epiphany for people. And I just want to kind of take a moment to appreciate the courage that it took for you to dive in and just take a look, because it's a hugely confronting experience, right?
It really is. I mean, and now I have my own investments in self-directed accounts where I go online and I buy the stocks or the ETFs that I want. And that whole process has actually been really confronting. To be like, wait, I'm in charge. This is my responsibility now, but I don't know what I'm doing. It's and so that's been really great to just have a solid base of financial literacy, which nobody seems to teach us. Our parents don't, our school system doesn't. And it's remarkable to me that now that I've learned this, I've been able to share it with so many people who are close to me, and everybody's eyes just, pop out of their heads, because they're like, wait, this is what it's all about. I mean, it seems like in my circles, everyone's it's like the blind leading the blind. Everybody's hoping that at the end of the day, they'll be able to buy a house and retire at 55, but nobody actually has a freaking clue how to get there.
Yeah, it's true. And, it's actually not that complicated. It's just that nobody's talking about it. I mean, even maybe there's some people who are watching us here now who are going to watch us in the replay. Let us know in the comments if you're watching live or if you're watching in the replay. I'm sure any of the part of the Fire series where I've been talking about money, it's been confronting. You might have been like, get this woman off of my screen, because we don't talk about money.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I am deeply interested in new ways of being. The old model just hasn't served us. If you look at your parents, if you look at their parents, if you look at all the people in the older generation who are kind of not living the life that I want to live now, never mind in 20 or 30 or 40 years, I have to look at other ways. So that's why the FIRE movement, financially independent, retire early, has been so intriguing to me, as well as the idea of starting low input businesses and working from anywhere. It's because I really care about living this one precious wild life in exactly the way that you want to. And the reality is you can't do that without talking about money, because you can't do anything without money. I mean, I did go through a period, in fact, when you and I met, I was going through a period where I was rejecting finances and wealth. I kind of went off to Luxembourg in my early 20s and bought apartments and was like on the rat race wheel to accumulate wealth. And then when I left there in 2009, I was like, damn all of this, I'm going to live like a student. And that's how we met. For anybody who's watching, I kind of used to look after like quite an upper class student digs in Cape Town in my like mid to late 20s, totally withdrawn from the rat race, thinking that withdrawn from the rat race had to mean not having a lot of money. So what did I do? I got myself a place where my accommodation was covered. I went back to university and I was living like really frugally. And now I'm like, you can actually withdraw from the rat race and not have to live really frugally. So I've kind of come full circle. I've kind of been really rich, I've been really poor, I've been really minimalist, and now I'm like, you know what, I can have the life that I want and I can be supported by money, because that's all that money is. It supports you to be really present with life, to do the things that you want to do. And unless people are prepared to hear that and talk about it, as long as we keep money this dirty secret, we're never going to live the way that we want to live.
And I will say, so for the last 5 years, I've been working for companies. I started off doing my own thing shortly out of school. I work in construction and home renovations. And 6-7 years ago, I flipped a few houses, which was a really exciting experience for me. But I felt like I was a little in over my head at the time because I was just learning things so much for the first time. And then so I decided to work in business, and it's been, if I reflect back on the last 5 years, what really spoke to me so much about all your videos last year and these videos now this year is that feeling of stuckness has just, it's been really hard on me for 5 years to just feel like I'm so on this particular path. It's so hard to extract myself out of the 9-to-5 world. And yet at the same time, it's kind of like soul sucking. It's, I'm leading myself of my energy. And so it's fun for me to start to think, okay, well, I want to start focusing in on how do I make my money grow? How do I get really creative about making money? So that I can live the life of my dreams and retire early and all those kind of things. Because again, there's a huge opportunity cost to a 9-to-5 that depletes you of all your energy and steers your focus away from your financial freedom number and what you need to do to bring multiple streams of income into your world and get creative about money. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's just, people don't talk about it. People have so many negative associations with money. It can be evil, it can be greedy, all these kind of things. And it's a huge relief to just be able to have these conversations and realize that, exactly. Money just feeds you. Exactly.
A huge relief. And if you've been listening to us and some of the things Hannah's talked about, where she talks about her freedom figure and an asset and releasing equity, if all of that sounds like you don't know what the hell we're talking about, or if you're curious about this other way, then perhaps you want to consider joining Anne's World of Wealth workshop that's happening now. It's free, and I think it's open only until tomorrow. And then the doors for Financial Freedom University enrollment open tomorrow. And if you want to take the step where you actually vote for yourself and you say, you know what, I don't want to live in the dark anymore. I don't want to live in hope anymore. I don't want to have that stuck feeling anymore. I want to start building other streams of income, whether it's through low input businesses, which I've talked about in other episodes of the FIRE series. I want to buy assets with other people's monies, like Hannah said. She just bought a double property. It's got 2 units in it, right?
Yes.
2-unit property. Hannah's gone. We're going to wait for her to come back. So in the meantime, if you are realizing that there's stuff you don't know, and you do want another way of being, then I really recommend that one of your paths, I mean, there's lots of paths to freedom, but one really potential path that I have already been walking is to join a community of people who understand that it's a process and who understand that there's things to learn and who can support each other, then I really recommend that you consider joining Financial Freedom University. It has literally been a life changer for me. As you've heard, it's been a life changer for Hannah. And when she joins us again, I'm going to ask her to share any words of encouragement that she'd have for you, having been someone who recently joined Anne's community. And also to let you know that if you are considering joining Financial Freedom University, you might have got an email from me letting you know that I've joined in partnership with Anne, that anyone who joins Financial Freedom University gets some extra bonus stuff from me, like a free coaching session where we fast track your map to our work from anywhere online business, as well as some of the Airbnb low input business programs that I've put together. So keep your eyes out for a link about that, so that you can join as a package bundle from myself and from Anne. I am going to hang out for just a moment longer to see if Hannah comes back. Otherwise, I want to thank you for watching the Fire series. There are 2 more episodes. I have one more episode where I talk about my minimalist journey, and then the finale episode, I have Anne here on the closing episode where she shares her journey to financial freedom. Because if you've been watching her World of Wealth workshop, you know that it hasn't been always easy for her, and that she is truly self-made in the sense that she decided to start educating herself when she was in her early 30s after an absolute collapse in her life. So I'm going to end here. I think Hannah's gone a wandering, and I thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments if you're watching the replay or live, and keep your eyes open for a mail from us around registering for Financial Freedom University with our gifts and bonuses. Bye-bye, everyone.